Hi everyone, today we will be talking about graphing inequalities and solving the essential question of how do we graph an inequality. So if you remember from prior lessons, our inequalities uses symbols like less than, greater than, less than or equal to, and greater than or equal to. And now we are going to graph these symbols today. So these symbols have special graphs that are on number lines. So the graph of an inequality will show all the possible solutions. So when we graph an inequality, when we use one of these symbols to graph something, it will show all the possible solutions of the inequality on a number line. So, important information that we should know from this sentence is that the graph of an inequality shows solutions on a number line. Okay, so it's going to show the solutions on a number line. How in the world is it going to do that? Well, we're going to use dots that are different, so to speak. So we're going to use different types of dots. So first and foremost, if we are using a closed dot before means equal to. Okay, so when we graphed, like let's say we said x equals 4. On my number line, when we graphed this, we would go to 4 and we just put a dot. And we said that x is 4 in previous lessons when we did this. So we said that this dot right here meant equal to. So we put it right there, x is 4, boom, there we go. When we're using inequalities though, we have these dots here that don't include 4. So let's say that I were to say that x is less than 4. That means that 4 is a number, but we're not using the number 4, right? Because all of our answers have to be less than 4. So anything under 4 is included. So when we use a less than sign, we're going to use an open dot. Okay, so we're going to use an open dot. It doesn't equal. So that means that it's not a solution. So in this case, 4 is not a solution for x. It means that x has to be everything under 4. Like 3, 2, 1, 0, anything underneath it would be a solution. So in prior lessons, remember we said this was the equal sign. Here we're going to use less than. We're going to use an open dot, and it's not a solution. When we're looking at greater than, so let's say that x is greater than 4. That means that we're looking for all the solutions that are bigger than 4. So we're not going to include 4 again, so we're going to use an open dot. And again, it means that it's not a solution. but it does include all the numbers bigger than 4. So we would start at 5, 6, 7, 8, and go on like that. Now, if it said something like x is less than or equal to 4, again, we have that it's equal to the 4. So because it's equal to, we're going to use a closed dot. That means that it could, this symbol here, could include 4, but it also is going to include everything underneath it. So we're going to use a closed dot. And that means that it is a solution. So thinking about yesterday's lesson when we looked at how to check solutions, we would now start to assign, is it going to be a closed dot or an open dot? Okay, and we have one more symbol, and our last symbol is going to include greater than or equal to. So x is greater than or equal to 4. And so when it's greater than or equal to, again, because it's equal to, we're going to use a closed dot. And it means that it is a solution. Okay, there's more to graphing than just dots, but I want to just start out with the dots, and then we're going to we'll go from there. Okay, so go ahead and hit pause right now if you need to write down this table here. So here's our symbols, here's what kind of dot to use, here's what it means. Hit pause so that you can write those down when you're ready. Come on back. I'm going to scoot this up a little bit, and we're going to do our very first example. All right, so in our first example, example A. Example A says that they want us to graph G is less than 2. So G is less than 2. So right away when we look at this, it says that G is less than 2. We can use this symbol, the less than symbol, to see that we need an open dot. So I'm going to be using an open dot to graph. So I'm going to start out first by creating a number line. So here's my number line. Here's 0, 1, 2, -1, -2, and so on. It says that it is not a solution. So when we graph this, 2 is not a solution. So right above the 2, I am going to put an open dot. Now, the other piece of this is that when we graph an inequality, we need to show all of the solutions that it could be. So if it's not 2, that means that it's everything below 2. So we're going to draw an arrow showing all the solutions that are below 2. So this open dot tells us it's not a solution, but everything below 2 is a solution. So really, when we graph, we're going to come back up here. We're going to draw an open dot and an arrow pointing to the left. So everything below. You could also look at this and draw an arrow line coming off of from here, and it'll show you which direction to point your arrow. Okay, this is now graphed. This means that possible solutions are 1, -2, 0. Anything below 2 is a possible solution. I mean, you could even have -50 as a possible solution because that is below 2. Non-solutions, 2 isn't a solution, 3 is not, 4 is not, because those ones are greater than 2. Okay, let's do another example. And let's check out example B. So example B is going to ask us to graph again. Let me see what it's asking us to graph. It says graph H is less than or equal to 5. H is less than or equal to 5. Okay, another important thing is that your letter should always come first. So we'll do an example that shows when the letter doesn't come first. Okay, so we're going to graph this. This says H is less than or equal to 5. So I'm going to draw my line. There's my 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, -5. And we're going to come back up here and we're going to look. This is a less than or equal to. So I'm going to come up here. Less than or equal to says a closed dot. So that means that 5 can be a possible solution. So I'm going to get a closed dot on the 5. So I'm using a closed dot. And all the other solutions that it can include are also below 5. It has to be less than 5. So again, I'm going to draw my arrow to include everything that is less than 5. So possible solutions could be 4, 0, 1, -5, -10. Those are all possible solutions because they all are under 5. 5 is also a possible solution because it's equal to 5, meaning it can include the 5. So up here, we're going to use a closed dot again. And we're going to include all the numbers that are less than. So our arrow will point to the left again. Okay, let's do another example. We'll do example C now. All right, example C. Example C says graph. Let's do this one as a, okay, so this one says 5 is less than S. Okay, when we think about this, like I said, we need to have the variable first. So when we read this backwards, it says S is greater than because this greater than mouth is eating the S, not the 5, right? So 5 less than S, we're just going to flip the symbol around and then flip the numbers. So now it says S is greater than 5. So every time we want to make sure that we are graphing so that the inequality sign comes after the variable. So we want the variable to always come first. So in some of these, you might have to rewrite these so that it comes first. So that that variable comes first. And that's really important, especially when we start to solve, that you remember that. So S is greater than. So we're going to come up here and we're going to look for the greater than symbol right here. It's an open dot. 5 cannot be a solution. But everything bigger than 5 is a solution. So let's go ahead and graph this. So here's my 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. -5. All right, so we're going to use an open dot, like we said, an open dot. And our arrow, here's my open dot, includes everything bigger. So I'm going to add some more numbers here. So like here's 8. it's going to include everything that is bigger. So on my number line, I'm going to draw my arrow to include all the bigger numbers. So it's an open dot, but it's everything bigger. So it's going to the right. So possible solutions. Possible solutions are 6, 8, 28, 102. All of those are bigger than 5. However, 5 is not a solution because it does not equal 5. If it had the equal sign underneath it, then it would be a solution, but it is not. Okay, let's do one more example, and then I'm going to let you do your try-its. So let's look at example D. Okay, and example D says, F is greater than or equal to 2. So F is greater than or equal to 2. Again, this is not a switch one. We don't have to switch it around because of the variable. Variable comes first. So we're just going to graph this on our number line. Okay, let's look up in our chart. It's the greater than or equal to sign, greater than or equal to. So we're using a closed dot so that it can be equal to. So we're going to come down here. We're going to find the number 2. It includes 2. But again, it also includes everything that's bigger. So we're going to draw our line going to the right so that it includes everything that's bigger. So a closed dot and everything that is bigger going to the right. Getting closer to 0, past 0, further on the number line over to the right. So our possible solutions. The possible solutions were 2, 5, 25, or 102. So it's very similar to this, where it could have shared, because it's greater than, it could have shared solutions. However, this one includes 2, and this one does not include 5. Okay? All right, go ahead and finish writing this down, and then when you're ready, go ahead and hit play again, and then I'm going to turn my page so that we can get ready for the try-its. Oh my goodness, so many little polka dots all over my paper now. All right, so let's talk about try-it number 1. So on our try-its, try-it number 1, it says to graph the inequality that's A is less than 4. Try-it number 2. Try-it number 2 says to graph N is greater than or equal to 0. And then number 3, I'm going to give you a tricky switchy one, and you have to try to figure that out with the tricky switchy. Okay. It says that -3 is less than P. Okay, so go ahead and hit pause right now so you don't hear me solving. And then when you're ready, come on back and hit play. All right, so we're going to start out by drawing our number line. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, -4. Okay, this is starting with A, so we're good to start graphing. A is less than 4. Less than is an open dot with the arrow pointing less. So I'm going to go to the 4. I'm going to draw a dot, an open dot, and I'm going to make everything less than. Everything less than. Okay, number 2. It says N is greater than or equal to 0. So again, I'm going to draw my number line. And this tells me that it can include everything bigger than 0. And it does start with n, so we're good to go ahead and graph this. So everything bigger, it includes 0 because it has a closed dot. So everything bigger. All right, last one. This one looks weird. It doesn't start with my variable, so I'm going to rewrite this. So p is greater than -3. Right now it says -3 is less than p. It still means the exact same thing. -3 is less than p. So we're going to come over here and we're going to draw our number line. And it doesn't include, it's greater than, but it does not include p is greater than -3. So it doesn't include -3, so we're just going to use an open dot, and then we're going to choose everything that's bigger. All right, how did you do on your try-its? How did you do on these? Do you know when to use a closed dot, when to use an open dot, and which direction to put your arrow? Go ahead and answer that essential question. How do we graph inequalities? And then put your level of understanding out to the side. Where are you at? When you are finished, you can come on back to the Google Meet and ask for help, or you can go and do your practice work. As always, I appreciate all of your hard work and effort, and make it a great day.